I was born June 18, 1943, and that was at the height of the Second World War, and even traveling to South Africa was dangerous. Another missionary family that went by boat were torpedoed and lost everything. They did manage to save their lives. Because it was so dangerous, when we left South Africa to get back to Nigeria, we went overland by bus and by plane, and that took quite a few weeks to travel all the way across the Congo, Cameroons, back into Nigeria. Alright, I tell people it was an accident that I was born in Cape Town, South Africa. My parents really should have gone home to England for their furlough, but it was during the Second World War. There were no ships going to England, so they went to South Africa instead. And being born there has caused me no end of problems. When I wanted to come to America the first time to study, to get a green card so I could work, there was a 2-year waiting list for people born in South Africa and no waiting list for those born in England. Eventually I was able to get transferred to the English quota, but it took quite a while to accomplish that. I was almost 12 years old, almost at my 12th year birthday, when a missionary family took me home to England to live with another family who had been a missionary family in Africa, so I could go to Stanbrook Park Secondary School. And I lived with them for from 12 to 16, when my parents finally came home permanently from Africa. And I have an easygoing personality, so I was able to adjust to that pretty well. I did rebel a little. This family was very traditional, and I had to wear my raincoat every day, and so I rode a bicycle to school, and when I was out of sight of the house, I'd take the raincoat off and drape it over the handlebars and ride on to school. And coming back, I'd put it on just before I got to the house, and that was about the extent of my rebellion. Well, I didn't go to school in South Africa, it was West Africa, and I had 3 different experiences. Part of it was homeschooling, my mother teaching myself and my sister, and we liked it very much when it rained, because the rain was so hard on the corrugated iron roof that you couldn't hear each other speak, and so school would be dismissed for a while. Then I went to school in a European school in Ibadan for 9 months. When I was about 9 years old, my parents sent me away to live with another family, which was kind of difficult, especially as that family had a boy called David, and you couldn't have 2 Davids, so I was called John during that experience of my life. And then they started a school on the mission compound where there were a number of families coming together. So it was 3 different, and then in between, when we went on furlough to England, then I'd go to school at Stanbrook Park. But I was always a great reader. I'd read all my father's books by the age of 12, most of Dickens' books by the age of 12. I love reading, so I had no trouble catching up when I got home to England to go to secondary school. Probably one of my fondest memories was Saturday evenings. Family and other missionaries would gather, and we would play either caroms or carpet balls. And if you don't know what carpet balls are, if you know what lawn bowling is, where you have these big wooden balls with a bias in the end, and you roll them 40 feet on the grass, and they curve, and they have to nestle around a white ivory ball, and the one closest gets the points. Well, they have a small version for playing on the carpet, and so we used to play that, and I was so good at it because I'd practice all during the week. I could beat all the adults, and that always gave me a great deal of pleasure to think that this 12-year-old or 11-year-old could win all the games against the older folk. Growing up, I was very much a conformist, raised in a very traditional Adventist home, very traditional. When I went to study at La Sierra, I wore my coat and tie every day, even though it was 90 degrees, until finally, as I looked around the classroom and saw no one else with a tie on, I thought, why am I wearing this tie? But when I first took it off, I felt naked. I really felt terrible, undressed, but eventually I adjusted, and now today I only wear a tie to church on Sabbath. What do I consider myself to be? I jokingly say that I'm one of the few African Americans in this country, since I was born in Africa. I mean, one of the few genuine African Americans, since I was actually born in Africa and I got American citizenship some years ago. I guess at heart I consider myself still very English. When I go back to England I get very nostalgic, even though I spent only a few years of my life there. I think of myself as Scottish very much because I sold books there, I studied there, went to high school there, worked as a pastor there. My African roots, I feel very much Nigerian in many ways, since my parents were married in Ibadan and my brother and sister were born in Nigeria. So I kind of feel in some ways I'm a man without a country, and I look forward to the permanent country, heaven, where I'll have roots forever.